All right, everyone, welcome. It's another 90 Day Fiance chat. 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows couples, one person from the US, the other from another country. We follow their relationship issues along with cultural boundaries, language barriers, and trying to get the legal right to marry in different countries. It's the 90-day visa process, it's 90 Day Fiance. Um, and, and this particular spinoff is 90 Day the Other Way, the tell off for season 6. So everybody's kind of gathering into the studio, preparing to tape. Customarily, this is what they show during the tell alls, like the pre tape. Josh and Joanne. So Josh is the first to get there. Joanne comes in. He stands up as if he's going to get a hug, but it looks like she didn't give him a hug. Now, I could be wrong, could have been edited, but I didn't see a hug there. I'm not sure why she didn't want to hug Josh. But Josh looked a little bit eager to get a hug. Tata and James, we found out they are together. But before we see Tata come in the room, James comes in, and Joanne gives him like a nice hug. So I'm like, that's weird. She didn't give Josh one. I don't know what that's supposed to be about. But everybody's taking their time but bonding. So Sean walks in the room. She's like, surprise, guys. Joanne says, and Sean walks in the room. Everybody's giving a lot of love to Sean. I think James called him James Bond as he walked in the room. He's definitely giving me Jason Statham, but of a younger generation. He's giving me something around those vibes. But I was impressed by him, and he kind of straight out says what's in his mind, and I think that's a good fit for Joanne, who's from New York. That's kind of what people from New York do. But Joanne seems to be more on the nicer side, even though I do feel like she has ability to speak her mind. She's just not as vocal, I'll say, on here at this point. Corona gives the best hugs to them all, so she hugs the whole cast, and we see Sarper and Shekinah together, and Sarper's actually in the US. So these are like some fun reveals we see right in the beginning of the show, that who's together and all of that. So she shows, I think she kind of shows her engagement ring, and he says it was $2,500 in Pride, and she kind of like, well, I thought it was more than that. I wish you kind of wouldn't have said anything, but $2,500 isn't really not so bad according to the other rings that I've seen people get, especially from other countries. The prices vary. At least it's in the thousands. Some of these rings I see people get on the show is not even in the thousands. So ladies, what do you think about getting a $2,500 ring? Thoughts, comments, questions, you can always do that. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com or just drop it in the comments. Corona's the only one that's not still with her partner, Inky. And these are things we find out in the beginning, so I'm just going to be blasting off little notes of things that I saw as the show started, and this is even before the taping begins. Sarper has his own thoughts about Corona, and they're not that great. James has to be. He says you have to be in a strong relationship when you are going through this show, as people will attack you. This is again before where they're all bonding and talking. And yeah, I mean, you're on a reality show. It's up for debate. You will be attacked, maybe by people you love and even people you don't love. Of course, we know the people you don't love, but the people you love kind of hurts a little bit more. But you have to be strong anyway. But to be in the spotlight like this and be on this show, definitely you have to have a strong relationship, or be two strong people that are able to try to endure that. For some reason, Shekinah and Sarper start eating butter together. Butter and rings. That's all I can think of. Butter and engagement rings. They're on some type of high-fat diet. I can't recall what they said it was. But they're twinning so much. They look like, I think somebody called them Timu and Barbie and Ken. Sorry, guys. So as they start entering the studio, Corona puts up a finger to Inky's screen as soon as she enters the studio. So that shows us how she feels about Inky at this point. Statler and Dempsey, they let us know. Hi, Sean. She's our host. She says, Statler and Dempsey, they broke up and they won't be on the tell-all. So we find that out. I know that one of the episodes as the show or season was ending was giving me that vibe where they were showing all of the good times they had, and they were giving me a vibe that it was ending, but they were acting like they're going to keep trying to stick it out. But I guess that's the magic of TV and editing, right? They wanted to leave us in a cliffhanger. But they're not going to be there. Shekinah and Sarper, they actually do have their K1 visa process going. I mean, we found that out before the tell-all, but their 90 days is actually starting now. So they have 90 days to get married so that the K1 visa will apply. So I'm hoping that they can make it through the process and they can get it in before those 90 days are up. And Sarper says it's all about the marriage, not about the wedding and all that big stuff, but it's really about them together as a couple in the marriage. Of course, that's a lot of times what men say because they don't want to put out the money for these big weddings. Look, he already spent $2,500 on the engagement ring, so he may be tapped out. I don't know what his wallet looks like. Lily and Josh, they asked, how are you guys' relationship going? Sean asked that, and he says, we've had some happy moments, but we still have some problems. That's what Lily says, and Josh says things are better than they were. So Josh made it sound a little bit better than what Lily let us know. And I'm going to be going back and forth between couples. So I just said something about Lily and Josh. I'll probably come back to them back and forth, kind of mimicking the show because there was a lot of back and forth. Sean and Joanne. So everybody was surprised that Sean was there, but he says he's not permanently in the U.S. yet, but somehow he was able to get a visa to get in. And previously, Sean let us know that he wasn't even able to get that. So at least he's making some type of headway, and he may become a U.S. citizen. Who knows? I mean, I like that he did that. That shows the love that he has for Joanne, and he knew the situation she was in, not wanting to leave her boys, and her boys were struggling with that for her going to Ireland, and they didn't want to go, of course. So I think Sean is a stand-up guy for trying to be the one to say, hey, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to take the initiative in this situation. And he does have a daughter. His daughter is a little bit younger than the boys, and she may actually be able to adapt a little bit better. She's got that no nonsense, say what's on your mind attitude as well. I really liked her on the show. So I really think they would make a great spinoff show if they just had their own show. And we get to see how they navigate, and if, everything goes well, because Sean and Joanne are basically already married. I assume they're married in Ireland. So James and Tata. Tata is in the U.S., which was a little bit of a surprise that she actually was there. They left us a cliffhanger with that as well. Was Tata going to stay in her country or be up here with James? And honestly, the way she was acting, I felt like she should have stayed in her country. But she was afraid that if she came back to the U.S., she would never be able to get back home, never have a connection with family back home. They asked her, how are things going? She said, things are hard, but it's good to be with James, but it's hard to be in the U.S. It's basically the same as it was before, and she feels disconnected. And James, I think, says it's hard, but things have changed in their relationship. What those things are, I don't know. Corona is back in midwifery school, so that's a good thing. And, when they asked about Corona and Inky's relationship, Corona's like, we're nothing to each other. We're not even friends. And he agrees that, yes, we are nothing to each other. Sean just calls him out right away, calls him a scammer, calls him a bleep, calls him scum. And he said that he faked his love for her. And Inky says, no, I never faked the situation, how I felt for Corona. Now back to Shekinah and Sarper. Um, they talk about the fact that, his engagement was to try kind of get her to stay in his country, and that's kind of why he proposed to her in the first place. But that was kept under wraps. He was talking to his family in another language, and she couldn't even understand that. But he decided to come here because she couldn't really adapt to his culture in Turkey very well, and the language and all of that. And also, they wouldn't be good as a long distance couple, so he had to do things this way. But he also said she's jealous, possessive, and territorial. And she's like, all of these things, and unpredictable as well. And she was kind of upset that he called her out on those things. And on some level, she may be, but he probably had some of that as well. But he was kind of cracking everybody up during this whole scenario, and I can't tell you all the jokes he said and all the things he said. But he did say something about you have to stay in Shekinah's orbit, otherwise she'll be jealous, possessive, and territorial. But as long as you stay in her orbit, she will be happy, whatever that means. And she also made a comment that when Sarper got here, he was like, parents, lock up your daughters. And he was like, no, I said, girls, lock up your windows. And she just didn't like that comment that he made. And he's like, well, I just had to get that energy out because the type of man, how I was, where I came from. That was in my head. I kind of just had to get that out of my head. Then James makes a kind of a sexual comment. He's like, well, I tell my wife, Tata, as long as my hands are full and my private areas are empty, then I'm good. So just make sure my hands are full and my private areas empty. I'm not sure what he means his hands are full. I'm not sure if he means his belly is full. I'm not really sure about that part, what that means. And they're saying, well, how did you handle that when you guys are apart from each other? I mean, you guys were apart from each other for some time. So then they said that they do things on the phone, and that's how they handle their needs, so to speak. Sarper says, no, there's no location tracking on his phone. She wants to track him. People, they're saying you should track him. And he's like, there's nothing in his DMs. And, we come to find out that may not be true. He says, sometimes he has guy talk with his friends and they send him some crazy stuff and some videos and stuff that he didn't really investigate it, but his friends put that in his DMs, so that makes him look bad. But you know how men can be. So he's trying to say, if something's weird in my phone, it's probably my friend sent me something, because they're always saying messy things. But he's saying, basically, Shekinah, you need to just trust me. You shouldn't have to put tracking on my phone. And all of these different things. Because, I'm committed to you. You should believe and trust that. And if you think I'm going to cheat, I'm going to break up with you first, then cheat. Therefore, I won't be cheating. And please do that, because there are so many people out here that play these games and cheat. And yeah, just break up with the person. Then you can go do whatever you want to do. At least you respected that relationship that you were in and you moved on to the next. So Shekinah's friend comes on and kind of talks a little bit about, how's life going to be? And, is he going to be jealous that she's going to have male friends, and he's one of her male friends, but he is not into women. So, Sarper seems cool, like, oh, this isn't going to be really a problem. And when it comes to jealousy and control and all of this, there may be an issue not only on Sarper's end, but actually Shekinah's end as well. So that's something they have to work out as far as accepting each other and each other having male and female friends. But Sarper's like, he can't even have female friends. And she's like, that's right, he can't. To me, I think that's a little bit toxic, because but part of me also says I understand where she's coming from, but most women don't want their man to have female friends generally. But seeing the type of man Sarper is, 2,500 women under his belt, And also the ring was $2,500. What a coincidence. That's different. But I just put those numbers together and realized that. But I understand if you were with a man that's promiscuous and you know he's got so-called wandering eyes, then you may say, no to the female friends. But I feel like, why do I have to police you if you love me? And if you still need work on your life like that, we probably need to not have a committed relationship as of yet. Maybe we can be in each other's lives, even be friends. I may not even fully commit to dating someone like that because I know that they need to work on themselves and they don't know commitment and they can't stay faithful until they can show that to me. Then I may not even date them. So I understand where she's coming from because he's the type of man that he is. But I also feel like it's a little bit toxic because you're going to have female friends and all of that. But you have to draw the line, I think, in the communication area. And we learn that he does have a friend that he was communicating with. I'm not sure if they communicated during their relationship. As far as we can see, that didn't happen. Then we get into Josh, and Lily says, to basically when it comes to jealousy. So we're not getting to the couples, just what Josh says when it comes to jealousy and the whole Sarper Shekinah said, if I'm not jealous is the day I stop loving you. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you have to be jealous in order to be in love with a person, because it's like, if you feel like you have a good relationship and he's not looking and wandering, or she's not looking and wandering, like, what do I have to be jealous about? Like, I only will be jealous if I see something that's a little bit too close for comfort, then I can be jealous. But for me to just be jealous of the fact that you have friends, yeah, I think when you have a female friend and even male friends, you guys should put boundaries and limits on how you guys spend your time with them. And as a couple, guys need to figure that out. And you can make it fair. Like, we're not going to be just going on random lunches with our friends and random dinner dates and just hanging out randomly. And if we do decide to hang out with a friend, we need to let each other know. We need to have met this friend so that we know what's up. I really think you should connect with the whole friend pool and first see if how the two of them connect with each other, how they act and react, and see how that person is with them. If there's something odd acting about them, then there's going to be high limitations on that friendship. And I don't know if it will be a full cutoff, but it depends on how that person navigates with your person. So that can be a tricky situation, but I think you can have friends, in my opinion, but there has to be boundaries as far as how we hang out with that person, how we communicate with that person, and the different time limits on when we communicate, all of that, etc., etc. That's just my thoughts. Your thoughts? Can men have female friends and women have male friends and they're in a serious relationship? Please let me know. Again, another question I'm asking you. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com. So Sean reveals, out of the 2,500 women that Sarper's been with, here's one, and it is Dee Dee. They met on a dating site, the same one that he met Shekinah on, and they met during COVID. It was supposedly a one-night stand, but they stayed in touch, and they spoke the last time last November. And he did let Dee Dee know that he had a girlfriend. I assume later on. I assume they didn't have the one-night stand yet, or they had the one-night stand earlier, and then later as they kept talking and things progressed with Shekinah, I'm assuming he let Dee Dee know that he had a girlfriend. Again, he said, well, actually, Dee Dee says this. She says he told her that Shekinah's possessive and unpredictable, so they couldn't hang out, but she did want to meet her. She didn't have a problem with meeting her. And they had talked a lot. It wasn't just about bedroom things, but they only were together one night, supposedly, but they continued their friendship and talked or whatever. And he said he will never cheat, and Dee Dee actually says that, and she says she believes that he would never cheat on Shekinah. And people have kind of been making fun of Dee Dee's appearance here. She's a little bit of a healthier girl. She is not chiseled and reshaped by surgery as Shekinah is. There's no so-called weight limit on her, because I was like, hey, what about the weight limit that you put on Shekinah? I guess that doesn't count with some of these other women that you slept with. I don't know, maybe because Shekinah was so into the weight limit, maybe that made her be part of the one. I don't know, but people have been kind of making fun of her appearance, probably saying she's not, she kind of looks like more of the regular average woman and not the type that it looks like Sarper will go after. But it is what it is. I have no problem with her. Shekinah leaves. She's like, I can't look at whatever that is any longer on the screen. She doesn't like Dee Dee, because Dee Dee wasn't there in person, but she was on the screen. And she plays Diva. She goes in her dressing room and she won't leave. And Tata and Corona go and girl chat with her and talk to her and see how she's doing. And, you know, they kind of comfort her and all that. And they kind of do a little girl bonding, which I thought was cool. And, you know, as Corona comes back, this is behind the stage. You know, I guess they're taking a break. She says, Sarper, you might want to look on your girl. So he does actually go back there. And she says, you know, when I left the stage, why didn't you come after me right away? He's like, well, I don't know what I did wrong. And he's like, I was out there being cordial and doing my part for the show. I didn't realize I had to come back and follow you. I'm trying to make everybody happier. She's like, no, don't worry about making everybody happy. You just make me happy. And he said, why are you being such a bleep? You know, the word that he uses on her. And that's the first time I heard him use that during this whole, at least this first episode. And I kind of understood why he said that. I wouldn't use that type of language, but she was kind of being a little bit too much. And what do you guys think? Should he have ran right after her? He keeps apologizing, so I feel like in a way he's getting a little bit whipped by Shekinah, which doesn't exactly have to be a bad thing. But he is kind of standing his ground a bit, but he's kind of getting whipped by Shekinah. And I'm not mad at it. Corona and Tata were like, you know, I thought he controlled everything for Shekinah, but Shekinah's putting her foot down, so they kind of like the new vibe of Shekinah and Sarper, and I do too. So the gang finds out that they changed, Shekinah and Sarper, and they are more likable, and Sarper's more likable, and he's making joke after joke, and it wasn't like so coarse and crazy and far-fetched. The jokes were gettable. The jokes were something that we can all connect with, versus him making like crude jokes or selfish or rude jokes. So I'm kind of liking this new Shekinah and Sarper. So now let's go back to Josh and Lily. They ask, you know, how would you rate your relationship at this time? And he's like, we're at a 6, and she's like, oh, we're at a 3. Arguing and no sex. She always feels like she's being blamed. She has no confidence. And Josh whimpers. He's saddened by this. He says it's hard. And they say, you know, how are you feeling to see your man going through this? She says she really feels nothing. And Corona's saying, oh, they're probably crocodile tears. She's used to it. And Sean's like, well, why are you guys still together? And they say that she really doesn't love him. Sarper says basically just sleep with her. This is the issue that she's really been voicing, and they all agree. And, you know, intimacy is needed for their relationship. She says they've only slept together 5 times since he was in China. And that is a small amount of times, considering especially they're supposed to be newlyweds. Not sure how long since the taping beginning started. Let's say maybe even a year, and they only slept together 5 times. Yeah, there's an issue. And she's like, why fight for the relationship? They're asking. And she says she loves him. Sarper says, well, you need passion in your relationship to keep your relationship going. You might love someone as a person, but the passion needs to be there. And Sean says he has to be hit by a train to stay away from his boo, Joanne. I thought that was funny that, it basically takes a lot for him not to want to be with his person. The fact that he's not providing, they say, can be an issue. It could affect your libido, and that's what James said. He said that affected him when he was with Tata, and they stopped having relations due to fighting and the financial issues when they were in Indonesia together. And then they kind of get back into the issue of, hey, use the phone if you're not with your person, because he's back in the U.S. and she's still in China. They go, you guys can use the phone. Sarper talks about role playing. And they're like, but if you make one mistake, you don't say the right thing, it can mess up the whole mood. Say, yeah, and Sarper says that she kind of asked, what's your name? What's my name? And he came up with some other name, and she was upset. And he was like, well, we're role playing, so you're not going to be your own name. But I thought that was kind of funny. Then they get to the question, how many people, do you guys know how many people each other slept with? Some of the people skirted around the issue, didn't want to really reveal. And she kind of was like, not sure she wanted to reveal it to Sarper because she thought he would see her differently. And I think Sean and Joanne were like, it doesn't matter. We don't care about the numbers. We never really discussed it. And like, well, you guys can tell each other now, but looks like they didn't want to do that. And I understand. I feel that's personal. I feel like they don't have to do it on national TV or on the cable stage or whatever. I feel like that's a little personal, and even though they asked, I mean, you guys have the right to not tell. I mean, if you want to whisper in their ear, that's your business. But as far as us knowing, I don't have a problem with the not knowing because it's none of my business. I really think that is personal. Then I think they said that Josh said he only been with 5 people in his life, and I'm not sure. And then Joanne, I think, says it's been more than 5 for her, but she's not going to tell, the exact number. So it looks like Josh doesn't have a lot of bedroom experience for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But that doesn't mean that he can't ask his wife to assist him if he really wants to do that. And if he really wants to please her, that's something they really need to work on in their relationship. Tata's been back for 4 months, and James promised to bring the sister, and Corona's like, no, Sister Angel is messy. Angel's on the screen right now, and they're just discussing the past. The sister basically put rumors out against him and all of that as they were courting, and it could have been after their marriage. And Sarper says, well, for Tata, she's cute, but she cries too much. A lot of people have been saying that. And they ask, does Angel really love her sister? Because she doesn't want to know anything about James. She doesn't really care about him. And how will she live there? How is she supposed to come up there and live with them when she's causing all this trouble? And Tata tries to get them to talk. She feels like she's in the middle of everything. She wants them to get along. And James said something weird, saying this isn't a menage a trois. I'm like, well, why would you say that? That was just, to me, a little bit weird and didn't connect with the whole thing, because why did he make it sexual when in fact he doesn't like the sister? And the sister being sexual with the sister and the other sister, maybe there's some type of man fantasy, but I don't think Tata would appreciate any of that. Of course not. But even though he didn't all the way go there, but he mentioned, this isn't a menage a trois. There's a third person that keeps trying to come into our relationship and break things up. And I'm like, well, the menage a trois part could have been canceled from your mouth. That was weird. But, they're trying to tell Angel she needs to try to be a better sister to her, really show that she loves her, try to work things out and befriend her husband. And, she asked, what should I do? And then, somebody said, change your personality. Like, they were just making jokes on Angel's behalf. And then what's revealed is Tata says, well, you're actually supposed to ask the older sister for permission to get married to get married. So first, the idea of jealousy came up, like they're just jealous that the younger sister got married, and Angel's jealous of that. And then Ty says, well, technically you're supposed to ask the older sister for permission, and that wasn't done. And he knew about it. She said she told him about it, but he just decided not to do so. And I guess he said, why do it when you know what she's gonna probably do? If she probably, since she already been spreading the rumors, I assume. And they talk about the different broken promises that he made. Angel says the fact that they're supposed to have kids, and he really didn't stick to that promise. And he said, I didn't change. It's the world that changed after COVID. I don't want any kids. And even though Angel's set to come, everyone's like saying Angel shouldn't come. But Tata's not happy in the U.S. and she needs someone from her family to be around. Maybe they need to find someone else that's willing to be around. But I just think that's just like a lot of issues with them. And I don't know why he didn't respect her enough to ask her, but she may have already been starting trouble anyway. Yet and still, I would have at least respectfully asked her, and if she said no, you could have still married her anyway. That's what I would do. That's what I would think. Now, finally with Inky and Corona, Sarper advises Inky before he comes on screen, and he's like, and he kind of makes fun of Corona. It's like, I understand it's hard to deal with someone like Corona. He calls her the coronavirus, small but deadly. He was making some really funny jokes about Corona. So yeah, we have a bromance here. And I know people from Icelandic area. I know that you guys are kind of on the quieter side. So, just speak your mind, speak your case. Don't kind of let her get over on you because she's loud. She can be a little bit intimidating and all of that. And I understand what you went through, bro. How'd you deal with her and all of that? So they kind of bonded there. He's like, thanks, bro. We got a bromance here. So when things actually get on camera, Corona's a little nervous. She says, I don't really want to relive this nightmare. But he admits that he did love her. He came to visit her in the States and everything was kind of off. She wasn't the same person. So I think he said he came up there twice to the U.S. and the second time he just left for good after she suggested that they needed therapy. He said he suggested it. She's like, well, I actually suggested it. But I'm not sure what happened and why the therapy didn't take place. But things just were off and they're not together anymore. After sharing that information, that brief information, he leaves. He's like, and I'm done, and just walks out of the room. And she calls him a weak bee. And he's kind of whimpery. But that's how it ends. So I was all over the place, guys. Kind of like the tell-all was all over the place. I was very entertained by the banter, the bonding. I think it was a good time, and I can't wait to see the part 2 of this. Hopefully you guys were able to follow everything, because I, again, was all over the place. But I feel like Inky did back down too soon. I do feel like he cared for her. I don't know all the things that went wrong. She might be the type of person you really have to fight for, but she has a certain persona about her. And I think that she loves hard, and she expects to see so many different things that maybe Inky can't reveal, because again, like Sarper says, his Icelandic culture, they're not very emotional, they're not very visual or vocal on different things. So maybe he's just not capable of giving her the love that she feels that she needs. And he's not capable of proving that to her in the way that he can. It's just not enough for her. That's just me speculating. But we'll see, if Inky comes back in the room next time. Let's get some closure on this. Corona does seem like she could be a bit much, But I respect the way that she confronted him straight up about certain issues and didn't just let things lax and lag. And she's back in midwifery school and doing what she needs to do for her life. And maybe everything is what it needs to be. So we'll talk more about 90 Day Fiance as well as other topics of faith, love, and trends. You can always check me out at cbiztvmedia.com where you can hear this in audio version only and other projects and things we have going on there. And you can always email me with your thoughts, comments, questions at cbiztv@yahoo.com. This is Irene. All the best and God bless. Talk to you later.